What's going on, everyone? Gilman with LiveVolty back with another video taking a look at our weekly Apple update. So we'll take a look at Apple stock and how it traded, some key support and resistance levels that we talked about during the week, and then we'll also talk about some support and resistance levels or where Apple could be headed going into this week. And then we'll also take a look at quickly what other events are taking place in the stock market and for Apple in general. And then we'll kind of try to see where Apple stock could be headed. So let's get right into it. But real quick, if you haven't yet, if you could subscribe to the channel, it really helps me out as I'm trying to grow. Like the video so others can see it, and comment down below if you are in Apple or what you think the future for Apple could look like. So wasting no time getting right into it, let me hit the 5-day chart right here. And what we see is, not a bad week for Apple overall if we take out Friday from it, right? So we started the week around high 112s, or the lows for the start of the week were high 112s, and then we moved up. Tuesday we didn't do much. Wednesday we made a push up. Thursday we kind of traded sideways, right? We gapped up. If you guys remember from the video I made for that day, 117.72. We didn't have too much strength, right? We couldn't even, so once we gapped up and then we came back down, we couldn't even push back up to the opening price. And at that point I sort of mentioned that I took on a put because I talked about the resistance levels being at 118. And high 118s, 119, all of those had sort of really great resistance points. And then I talked about our support being at 113. So from 117, the fact that it couldn't break the high that it set in the day, the fact that we had a lot of resistance points coming up at 118 as I drew out in that video. So our upside was very little from the points we had set, and the downside was that we had support all the way at 113. That 113 support, as we discussed during the course of the week, was validated several times, and so we had that strong support. And so what I saw is, okay, I think that short-term Apple could go down. So I bought puts. I shared those on the video on Friday. If you want to go and watch those, they were really good. Now, although I was expecting it to kind of go down, I was hoping it would be, a couple dollars here or there, not expecting the huge gap down. And again, that was because of the announcement that we got, both related to jobs data, which wasn't too great, and then more so the fear around President Trump having coronavirus. And, that sort of took over the market on Friday. So the gap down, push down, a lot of selling pressure, a lot of uncertainty in the market, and then after hours I think he was admitted to the hospital or taken to the hospital, so there was more uncertainty surrounding that. So that's sort of the point that I want to make is that uncertainty is still there and will be for another probably week or two until he can either get discharged or get past, I think it's like the day 7 to day 10 being pretty critical. So once he's past that, hopefully, we can get some of that fear out of our minds. But until then, it's the coronavirus, right? Anything can happen. A lot of people in the United States and around the world have gotten it, have suffered from it, and have died from it. So, not saying anything will happen, but I'm just saying, it's the uncertainty of what could happen that's driving a lot of this. And then the other thing that's, uncertain about the market currently is the stimulus package. So there were talks, and I think the House passed the stimulus package this week, but the Senate likely won't pass it. And with it now being October, a lot of airline workers have now been furloughed. But then Pelosi on Friday said, we're going to come out with something for the airline workers. So hold on for that. She told them not to furlough, which is why we saw a pop on the airline industry. Faded again with the selling pressure. But, that's just a little bit of news kind of going on in the market. So we could see something with that. If we do, great, right? More liquidity in the market. If we don't, more uncertainty in the market. So it could go both ways. Now, the other thing though, the sort of good news, actually let's finish up with the charting first and then we'll talk about Apple specific news. So taking a look at, just the daily chart, what we see if we zoom in, oh no, it took away my trend lines, but let's redraw them. So we saw a series of Apple setting higher highs and higher lows, as we discussed and have discussed in the past couple of videos. But let me just redraw it. So this isn't a perfect line, but it kind of gets the point across. And then at this point, we had been discussing that Apple has been making higher highs and higher lows. Now, one thing that I do want to talk about is, before this, if you recall our video from like Thursday versus Friday, the line was like this. We were going up, and we were setting newer highs, newer lows every day. Well, other than, I think there was one day in there where we didn't set a higher high, but also, kind of traded sideways, so not that big of a deal. But on Friday, we both made a lower low and a lower high. So, this trend could really be tested this week. I don't think we're necessarily out of the trend yet just because of the news we have coming up, but we are making, steady highs, which is, generally definitely a good thing, right? So, there is still a lot of downside, I think, but because of what Apple has coming up, I think, Apple can sort of dodge some of that if we do see a lot of selling pressure. Again, I'm not saying stocks are about to go down. I'm just saying, with everything going on, we could see some more selling pressure as we have for a while now. So taking a look at, some of the indicators and zooming in, right? And let me just draw the indicators. So taking a look at the EMAs, what we see here is, we've got this support level in the 55 EMA at 110.26. And since we broke that 113 support that we had sort of discussed a few times throughout the course of the day, right? We went in the mid or low 112s on Friday. That 113 support was basically broken at that point. The new support, what I think could be, is 110.26, since that's the 55 EMA, and that could act as strong support. And then the other support is just, the 110s, because it's a round number, right? And we're going from, 109s to the 110s, right? Between 110 and 120. So I think that naturally just like as a mental support. And then after that, it's the mid to high 109s, right? We've had that support level a couple times. That being said though, right, in a typical scenario, Apple could have fallen all the way down to 107s as it has, after it's gotten rejected from the key resistance points. But we're going to talk about some events and why I don't think that could happen this week. It could, but I don't think it will. And then taking a look at the other side, we've got these three stacked EMAs between the 8, 21, and 34 at 113.69, 114.02, and 113.40. So those, I think, hopefully Apple finds as things that sort of pull it towards those numbers. They could act as resistance points, right? If there's not enough momentum and we hit one of those lines, let's say we go up to the 34 EMA at 113.40, we could see some selling happening, right? It could bounce from it. But what I want to see is it kind of approaching the 8 EMA at 113.69, and hopefully we'll see if it can sort of kind of ride that and not fall any further. So those are some key support and resistance points to look out for Apple going into this week. But not saying it can't fall more than 110, right? Not saying it can't go more than 109. But the other thing that I wanted to sort of talk about is the fact that Apple has their iPhone event, which was supposed to happen in mid-October. So they had some like price leaks essentially that just took place, and they said that the prices are going to start at $649, and they're still rumoring an October 13th launch, which is great. But they're going to have 4 iPhones, the 12 mini, 12, 12 Pro, and 12 Pro Max, which is kind of standard on what we've seen kind of all throughout. I think we had the 11, 11 Pro, and 11 Pro Max. I don't know what the mini was, or the equivalent of the mini was. Maybe it was the SE. But yeah, and then, another kind of calendar here, or another source here, they also talk about, the rumors around the iPhone and when they'll announce it. So they're talking about the 2nd or 3rd week of October, which we are coming up on the 2nd week, right? And then the 3rd week is the following week. So typically for Apple, what they do is they'll announce the event a week before it's about to happen. So if it's about to happen next week, let's say next Tuesday, they'll announce it this Tuesday. And that's sort of the reason why I think there is a little bit of upside, in Apple stock specifically going into this week. We did have a decent pullback on Friday. It was in the 117s, right? And we pushed down all the way to 112. So I think it does have room to go higher, especially with the hype and the rumors and the excitement surrounding the new iPhone release now that it's a 5G phone. I think that's, a great thing for Apple in general. So I think that's why, you know, when we take a look at, you know, the downside versus the upside, I think that we do have a decent bit of upside to go to. But that being said, again, really super important to focus on what, you know, the market is doing, right? And the market being as volatile as it is now, with the stimulus package, with the, you know, President Trump situation, with him being in the coronavirus, and then just the uncertainty of everything, right? COVID cases are on the rise in several states and around the world. So if that happens again, could see a lot of selling pressure in the market, and Apple will be no exception to that, even if they have a new iPhone release, right? If the Dow is, you know, falling and Nasdaq's falling, like Nasdaq, as I talked about in my Friday video, fell a lot more than the Dow did, right? If that's the case and tech stocks are selling hard, you know, Apple can't be super immune to it. Maybe they could be a little immune because of the excitement around its iPhone, but we have to understand it as a stock market, and so there's, you know, the indexes kind of take over, and if there's selling pressure, there's selling pressure. So just keep that in mind if you are going long. You know, don't just go long because it's Apple, right? Don't say, oh, they have an iPhone coming up, I can go long, I can just buy a bunch of calls. Don't bet the house on it. Do your analysis, play it safe, play it small, and lock in your profits. Always lock in your profits. If you're buying a couple shares, a couple stock options, if you are profitable and you have set your goal and you are at that goal, take the profits off the table, let the rest of them ride. Take a little bit off, let the rest ride. That way, if you are, you know, right in it potentially going up more, you've locked something in. That way, if it crashes, as it has several times, more times than I can count in the past month, you've locked in some of those profits. And then you've sold some, so you still have some to sort of take advantage of. But that's all I had for you guys today. Hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, please drop a like on this video, subscribe to the channel if you are new, and comment down below if you're in Apple, and share with anyone who you think might be interested in content like this. And if you want to see any other stocks, please let us know as well. Let's remember to be a bit better every single day, and until next time.